Hello, y'all, and welcome to the Now and Then podcast. I just thought I'd come on today and take a few minutes to talk about why I decided to start this podcast and why I am qualified to be the host. I should probably start off by saying that even though I interview people who have been at their jobs for 15 or 20 years or no more, I'm not one of those people. I did work in the same industry for over 20 years. I was in food processing. I know way more than anybody should ever know about the machines that put the lid on a can of salmon, put pickles in a jar, chili in a can, or put juice in plastic bottles. I did that for a very long time, and I don't regret it. It offered a lot of opportunity and a great chance to travel when I was younger because I only worked about 5 months a year for the first 11 years of that career. It was a seasonal job that required massive amounts of overtime, so much so that I made enough in 5 months to take the rest of the year off. It was really wonderful because I had every winter off to just go and travel and do whatever I wanted. It's actually been over 25 years since I've done that kind of work. I always like the phrase, a jack of all trades and a master of none. However, the full phrase is a little bit more revealing and complimentary. The complete phrase is, a jack of all trades, but a master of none is oftentimes better than a master of one. And I'm totally in agreement with that sentiment. Sure, it's great to have a career, a nice, long-lasting career, if you enjoy it and if you're good at it. And if it's providing all the things that you're looking for in a career. However, if that's not the case, there's no shame in getting out. And I did just that. I got out 25 years ago because I could see that the end was in sight. It was a good life for a long time, but eventually it didn't serve my needs anymore. So I cut it loose and moved on to something else. I've always been a bit of a dabbler. I've dabbled in a lot of different jobs over my career. I once counted them up. And if you count all the jobs I had growing up and in high school and in college and along the way, I've had over 50 jobs. So I guess that qualifies me as well enough to go ahead and interview people in different professions. And I'm no stranger to this podcasting business. Years and years and years ago, before podcasting was a thing, I had a website called idrinkyourwine.com where I would go around and interview different people. And it didn't really matter what they did. We talked for a few minutes, and near the end, we'd drink some wine. And I would always say, thanks for being on idrinkyourwine.com. If you're buying, I'm drinking. I did over 60 of those. This was before there were cell phones in cameras, or cameras with cell phones. And I did it with a little Canon handheld camcorder on a tripod and a lapel mic. And as I said, I did over 60 of those. It was a real blast. They're still up on YouTube if you want to go and take a look. The website's no longer up, but the videos are still available on YouTube if you just type in, I drink your wine. The idea for this particular podcast came up as I had been writing a memoir for my daughter through Storyworth, which is an online site where you can record your memories. And I got to thinking about all the jobs I'd had and how things had changed over the years. And then I was at an event at a winery, an event called Vinyl Tap, where some friends of mine play vinyl at a winery, and we hang out and drink and talk and listen to good music. I started kicking this idea around a little bit. We started talking about the idea of a podcast called Now and Then, where I could interview people who had been at their jobs for a long time. And I was getting a lot of good feedback from the people that I mentioned it to. So eventually I decided, it wasn't right away. It was probably a good 6 or 8 months later that I finally decided to go ahead and jump on it and make it happen. And so here we are. I've been very fortunate because I know a lot of people, a lot of interesting people who've been at their jobs for quite a while. I have some great guests coming up soon. I have a cybersecurity specialist, an assistant fire chief, and a special ed teacher who I'm really looking forward to talking to all those folks. You know, and I really try hard with the questions I ask to focus on the career itself, the evolution of the career, and not so much on any particular business. And I'm really liking that format because it opens it up to a greater discussion with a much wider range of issues. And it gives guests a chance to expand quite a bit on the field. And I think of this podcast as entertainment for those of us old enough to remember what it was like in the past and how careers have evolved. Also, I'm hoping it's somewhat educational for the younger generation who can come on here and take a look and see what it was like before they got their foot in the door, or to kind of check it out and decide if they even want to put their foot in the door. Maybe that's not a career that excites them, and they can figure out a little bit more about that from watching this podcast. At least I hope so. You know, and I would be remiss if I didn't go ahead and talk about another reason I did this podcast. It's also a bit of therapy, a bit of speech therapy. As you can probably tell, I have a bit of a speech impediment. I have Bell's palsy. I had a really serious ear infection about a year ago. It was actually life-threatening. I was in the hospital and ended up doing antibiotic therapy for a number of months, about 3 months actually. When it was all said and done, I still had quite a bit of the Bell's palsy. I could talk, but not very much or not very well initially. No one could hardly understand me. But now I'm back up there, up and running, and it's been a great help for me to get back in the saddle and do some therapy for this Bell's palsy. So hopefully that explains why my motivation behind doing all this, the why behind the podcast. Hopefully the speech impediment is not so bad that you give up on me. I'm pretty happy with the way it's going. So thanks a lot for listening. Stay curious and carpe diem.